Hi everyone. Before we start the video, I ask that you give the video a thumbs up, like, share, and comment. Please help me grow my channel. I appreciate you coming to watch. Thank you. Hi, I know that it's been quite some time since my last video, but just a quick update for you. I've been living in San Antonio, Texas for the last month now. Life has been pretty interesting to say the least. And I realized that I forgot my microphone holder that goes with my microphone stand, so I'll have to hold the microphone throughout this video. I hope that does not cause a distraction or anything. But in this video, we're going to talk about workplace discrimination and my recent experience with it. So, as I just mentioned, I relocated to San Antonio, Texas for a cybersecurity PCI DSS opportunity. It's a contract role, and the contract was supposed to be for a year. I sacrificed a lot coming here. I even went into debt by coming here. The staffing agency gave me a salary advance to cover living expenses. I have to wait 6 weeks before my first paycheck, which I'm still waiting for right now. I should be receiving that, fingers crossed, by this coming Tuesday. So I mentioned that we will be discussing workplace discrimination. I was recently fired from my job. You're probably wondering why. I was never given an answer as to why. So I'll start with describing my work environment. This was a large company, well known in this particular area. I was in the ops department, which was pretty large. And on the side that I sat on, I did not see any blacks working there on that particular side, which was really large. So this company's employees were predominantly East Indian. Of course, there were plenty of Caucasians working there, whites, and there were Asians and Hispanics working in this particular department, the ops department that I was in. But on the side of the ops department, which was pretty large, that I sat on, I was the only black person working there. And I'm pretty sure the only trans person working there, period. But this was one of the first things that I noticed on my first day. Early on, I noticed that my other team members, they were receiving preferential treatment. They were regularly being given tasks, support, and more time and attention from management. Almost every day, I had to ask the project manager if there was anything specific that he wanted me to focus on. And none of my other teammates never had to do this. The onboarding process was a complete disaster. It took 4 laptops for them to get it right. My first laptop was sent to my parents' house while I was still in Florida, but I had no idea that they were sending it there. I wasn't even provided the tracking number for it. So UPS, I believe, or maybe it was FedEx, made an attempt to deliver the laptop, and no one was home to receive it. The second time, it was 2 days before I was leaving Florida to come here to Texas, that they told me that they were sending a laptop there. And I told them, well, I will not be able to receive it because I'm leaving in 2 days, in less than 2 days. Could you possibly have me pick it up on my first day at work? That would be easier on me, or have it shipped to where I'll be staying. But they said that they had already sent it and it was too late. So once again, my parents were not at their house to receive the laptop, so it ended up going back. Finally, about a week or 2 weeks later, one of the other guys working there, I guess he was in charge of issuing laptops to new hires, but he gave me a Dell laptop. He had it sent to either to his house or to his office there at the company. And I spent all day on Friday because originally we were allowed to work from home on Fridays, which was nice. I spent all day that first Friday trying to connect to the internet, to connect to Wi Fi, and I was unsuccessful at doing it. This laptop would not connect to any of the Wi Fi networks, not the one at work or the one here at home. So I told them I spent all day that Friday trying to troubleshoot my problem. They told me, well, we'll just order a Mac for you. The Mac, I'm expecting them to once again deliver it to the work site and they will give it to me, but that was not the case at all. What happened was UPS tried delivering it here. I was actually home at the time, but I had no idea that they were delivering it here, and I didn't have a tracking number for it either. So what happened, UPS tried delivering it here, but we missed them. So they left a notice on the door saying that they had stopped by. And I called the number to UPS and found out that I would need to go to CVS to pick it up. So luckily my roommates, he and his wife, were nice enough to give me a ride to CVS. And I did not have my own transportation while I was here. That's another story in and of itself. Later on, I could share with you my time here and how things have been in my personal life. But this video, we're mainly going to focus on workplace discrimination and my experience, my recent experience with it. I did pick my laptop up from CVS that Thursday. I had been on the job probably about 2 or 3 weeks at that time. This was the fourth laptop that they tried to give me, and only the second one that I actually physically received. Luckily, the Mac worked perfectly. I could tell that it had been used before. There was a ding on the screen, and the power supply had some scratches on it, but it worked fine, and I was satisfied with it. I was using my personal laptop for a time. I was able to connect to the virtual desktop with it okay. But it was nice having a laptop that worked. I still had the Dell here, and it was sitting in my closet for a couple weeks, and I reached out to the guy who handles the laptops, and he said that I could bring it in and he would send it back. But it was not fun, carrying around that laptop back and forth on the bus, trying to send it back. And finally, I said, okay, I'm leaving it at home until he's ready to receive it and return it. Some of the things that I accomplished while working there. I was successful at drafting communications for the points of contact for the PCI DSS requirements that required TRAs, which stands for Targeted Risk Analysis, and PCI DSS stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is a framework used by the payment card industry that organizations have to conduct an annual assessment every year in order to continue accepting payments via credit card. And that's one of the areas of cybersecurity that I have a lot of experience in and that I'm well versed in. I am well versed in other areas as well, but that was the focus of this particular job. And it wasn't bad. I enjoyed the job. I never felt as though I was physically exhausted from work. Commuting to and from work, especially from work, took a toll on me physically. I identified the application delegates for over 100 applications that the company used. And I was putting this information into an Excel spreadsheet. So that took about 2 or 3 days to get through all of the applications and find the delegates. I used their directory system. I won't give out the name, but I used that system to find the delegates because in a large company such as this one, a lot of employees had similar or identical names. Something else that I noticed while I was there, I noticed that most of the black employees who worked for the company, there were not any in my particular department, but who worked for the company either worked in the claims department or their role was more related to customer service. While I was searching for the delegates, once their picture would show up on the screen, their name, I'd play a guessing game to guess which department they were in. And sure enough, every time one of us showed up, that's the department that they worked in. How ironic is that? I led several successful meetings with company stakeholders for those TRAs. TRAs are a new part of the newer version of the PCI DSS framework, the requirements. We're currently on version 4.0.1, and this new version requires TRAs for specific PCI DSS requirements. So our job was to find those points of contact, to find those stakeholders, draft communications for them, and then if they needed help with the questionnaires that they were required to fill out, we would then schedule a meeting and walk them through the process of completing the questionnaire successfully. And I did that, and I was able to complete the two TRAs that were assigned to me, which were requirement 8.6.3, which focused on password and passphrase rotation, and requirement 11.3.1.1. These are sub-requirements of the 12 requirements for PCI DSS. And the 11th requirement, 3.1.1, that I was just referring to, deals with vulnerability management and the ranking system for vulnerabilities. So those two TRAs I was assigned to, and I successfully completed those TRAs and had the stakeholders complete the questionnaires that they were required to fill out. So, about 3 weeks into my time there, we were told that they would be adding new team members to our team. At the time, we were a team of four, five if you count the project manager. Then you have the senior manager above him and another guy above him, and then there was another guy who was in charge of the PCI department. He was pretty arrogant, and he would use profanity at the meetings. Nothing really bad, but he was very short and he'd get ticked off pretty easily. He was an East Indian guy. And let me clarify that I have nothing against East Indians. Two of my team members were East Indians, and they were great people. They were really nice people. So I respect everyone. I have no issue with anyone. I get along with everyone. So I did not have a problem working with other cultures. But at the same time, there is something wrong when there's no representation of me in that department. I don't think that is an accident. It's more intentional, I think, than anything. So we also had a PI planning meeting, which covered 2 days. It was a Monday and a Tuesday. And this was a rather large meeting with a lot of people from the department. There were probably between 1 and 200 people at this particular PI planning meeting, at this event. They provided breakfast and lunch for us too. And during the meeting, I was the only black person there. Everyone else was either East Indian or Hispanic, maybe a few Asians there, and definitely plenty of Caucasians. So while we were having the PI planning, I noticed that our project manager met with two of my teammates privately. I'm not sure exactly what they were discussing, but myself and another team member, who was a white lady, We didn't, I don't think she met with the project manager that day, as I recall, but I know for a fact that I did not. I basically just sat there for the most of the day, not really doing anything. And there were two guys also there sitting at our table that Monday because we did not go on Tuesday. But that Monday, one of those guys, I believe these guys were from out of town, I'm not sure where, but he kept giving me strange looks as if he was asking, "How did you get here?" I didn't confront him about it. I was still nice and polite and kind. But I did notice that, and I felt his energy. And yes, my firing day. So it was last week, April 2nd, 2025. It was the end of my shift for that day. It was a Wednesday. And my other team member, she left moments before I did. And as I was packing my things in my backpack, my project manager told me that I'm afraid I have some unfortunate news, some bad news, and I already knew what he was going to tell me because everything that led up to that point was an indication that I was being pushed out. He told me that they decided that they would be, and this is the word he used, rolling off. I guess it's a corporate term. It's pretty stupid, as if you ask me, but he said that they would be rolling off. They've decided to roll off some of the PCI DSS team, compliance team. And he said that he and the senior manager, well, I don't know if he had a say in it, but I know that the senior manager did. And the other guy, not the guy above the senior manager, but the guy above him, the arrogant guy who's uses profanity at the meetings, him, the East Indian guy, decided that I'm no longer needed, that they would be ending my employment, and that my last day would be Friday, April 4th, 2025. And I asked the project manager the reason why they're letting me go. He could not give me a reason. I asked if there was anything that I did wrong. Was there a problem with my work performance? He said no, none of those things at all. But he just told me that, well, yeah, we've decided to just roll off some of our personnel, some of our team. And then I told him, well, didn't you tell us a couple of weeks ago that you guys were going to add more people to our team, that you were going to be expanding our team? He said, yes, we did, and there has been a change of plans. My boss, the senior manager, decided not to do it. And I told him, okay, well, God has another plan for me, I told him. And he couldn't say a word. And I left. And I notified the consultants that I worked with because I did 5 interviews for this position to get it. And my last interview, I remember that day, was back in February. I cried after that interview because I knew that I aced the interview and I felt really good about the way that I interviewed for this role. And I had a good feeling about it. And shortly after that, a day or two later, I found out that I was being offered the job. The job paid pretty decent, even though it was a contract role, but anything in cybersecurity or IT usually pays pretty well. As I was leaving work that day, walking to the bus stop, I texted the consultants that looked over my resume and gave me some advice, some consulting advice on putting together my resume for this role because they helped me a lot. They really did. And I told them that they were letting me go. And it's funny because before I ended my shift that day and found out that I was being let go, I sent him an email telling him that, I feel like I'm not receiving the support that I need. I didn't want to go into too much detail because I was there at work, and eventually later on, I was going to include more details. But I told him as I was walking to my bus stop that day that they decided to let me go. And I asked if he had heard anything, if there were any problems, because I was never issued any type of warning for anything. He told me no, I did not. I was not aware of any problems at all. But he just said, well, I'm sorry, and that was it pretty much, because he has a lot of pull within that department. He even told me this many times, and he can decide who gets hired on. And well, I don't know if he has a final say in it, but he knows a lot of people there, and he has a lot of connections there in that department. And we were on a call a few weeks before, and he asked me to ask my project manager and the senior manager if they would be interested in interviewing someone that he recommended. And I'm wondering if this is the person who's going to replace me. I don't know. Maybe he orchestrated this whole thing. But I was never given any warning of violating company policies or had any disciplinary action taken for anything that I said or did. I showed up every day. I was on time. I was a saint. I did everything that was asked of me. So the project manager, he sent me a text that evening saying that, well, I know that it is challenging for you to come to work. So what I'll do, you can just work from home your last 2 days. So I spent that Thursday and Friday working from home. I didn't do much. I spent more time gathering documentation of everything. I kept documentation the whole time I was there, so I have record of everything. So 2 days after my last day, which was April 4th, I spoke with one of my former team members. She was Indian, nice lady. She told me that the three of them, the three remaining team members, were told that I would no longer be with them and that they were hiring someone else or bringing on someone else to replace me. So it sounds like the project manager was not honest with me, that they are, in fact, hiring someone else as my replacement. Based on everything that I've experienced at this company, I have every reason to believe that I was discriminated against based on my race and based on my gender identity. I am a part of a protected class, and I've decided to escalate this, so I will be taking further action. I'll leave it at that. For over 20 years, I've tried to fit in to corporate America. I've dealt with discrimination, unfair treatment, everything. And things just aren't getting any better. But I am getting older, and it would be such a terrible thing for me to reach the end of my life and have wasted my life trying to be accepted in a corporate setting that doesn't want me there. I truly love cybersecurity, and I'd like to continue in that field as my career. I'm still relatively young, but I am getting older. But at this point, I am seriously considering saying farewell to corporate America, trying to fit into an environment that does not want me around. I believe I have a better chance at succeeding if I pursue my YouTube channel full time. I have to devote my time to other things because I have work and trying to support myself. I don't make money from YouTube. My channel is not that large. Maybe I could set a goal for myself to reach 1,000 subscribers by this summer. As of right now, I have 600 and something, but I've had this YouTube channel for quite a while. You know, I deal with gender dysphoria, and a lot of times it's difficult for me to show up and be on camera like this and put myself out here. But for something like this, I know that I have to speak out about it. It has to stop. So if any of you out there would like to support me, I did set up a GoFundMe page to cover my living expenses for the next few months. I am looking for something else, but as of right now, I do not have any job prospects. I still have to cover my living expenses and other things that might come up. And also, once I find an attorney, I'll have to pay legal fees as well. But I'm hoping that I can stay here in Texas a little while longer, maybe until the end of this year. I really do not want to return back to Florida within the next couple of months because that environment wasn't all that great for me either. So if you're interested, I would greatly appreciate it if you would show your support by donating to my GoFundMe page. We must continue to fight against workplace discrimination. There's no excuse for it. Thank you, and back to the video. You know, these companies, and there are great companies out there. I'm not saying that there isn't, but these companies, a lot of them pride themselves on being inclusive, diversified, and accepting, but it's all word salad. It's one thing to say something and say that you're about something and not practice it. And that's what I have seen in my time. So the plan going forward, I've been here in San Antonio for going on a month and a half now. I haven't seen there's a lot to San Antonio that I have yet to experience. When I was younger, I trained out here with the Air Force until getting medically discharged for asthma. So all I saw back then was Lackland Air Force Base, which I'd like to revisit at some point. And also, during that week, during my last week on the job, there was a story that took place, a story out of Frisco, Texas, which is north of here near Dallas, involving the teenagers, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony and Metcalf. I can't remember his first name right now. I'm sorry. It's sad that he lost his life, but I'd like to possibly, if you'd like me to, do a video on that too, giving my opinion. Carmelo Anthony does seem like a good kid. He seems like he is a model student. And the other kid who lost his life, Metcalf, he was an honor roll student as well, who was on the football team. He and his brother were. So if you'd like, I could do a video on that and give you my perspective on the whole thing. But yeah, this is what I've experienced since I've been here. Once again, workplace discrimination. Another setback that I'm dealing with. I've always tried to be a kind person, to be a courteous person, to treat people with respect, and to show up and do a good job. Never have I discussed my transition on the job. That is off limits. That's something that I do not talk about. I like to keep things professional. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments and you can share some of your stories if you'd like. I ask that you give the video a thumbs up, please, to help me grow this channel and to share. If you have any advice for me, I'd also love to hear that as well. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. To all a good day. God bless. Our time is now. Let's change the world.